Devastating revenge by a husband who discovers his wife's infidelity at a secret swingers club. Sharon was furious, especially at me, her husband. My name is Frank Miller. How could I tell she was angry? It was simple. We were driving home from a party hosted by her friends and Hank Vanderling, and she was huddled in the corner of the seat, trying to stay as far away from me as possible, but still in the car. She was frowning as if she were trying to spoil the milk. To be honest, I think she had every reason to be angry, because I had completely ruined her evening. I felt really sorry for embarrassing my wife and mother of 3. What did I do to embarrass her and ruin her evening? I took the wrong keys. You know, the Vanderlings always throw crazy parties, and my wife suddenly wanted to go, but I didn't. We'd never been to one of their parties before, but my wife got an invite through a friend of a friend. My wife of 10 years forgot to tell me that this party was different. She didn't tell me beforehand that at this party, all the wives had to throw their house keys into a bowl, and then the husbands would blindly draw a key and take the corresponding wife to the master bedroom for the night. You know, it's not innocent fun. Towards the end of the party, I suddenly realized what was going to happen, and I was terrified. I've never been so angry with Sharon. I grabbed her by the arm and led her to the kitchen. Did you know this is how the party would end? I asked her, and she giggled at me. Yes. You never thought to tell me before we came. No, because I knew you wouldn't agree unless you had to. I definitely wouldn't agree. I always have a choice. Let's go. We can't go now, it's rude, you'll embarrass me, and it's only for one night, it'll spice up our marriage. I can do without the spice. Let's go, we need some spice. Stan, I just need one night. I want to be more than just a wife and a mother. Just one night, and it won't happen again. Besides, I put our keys in the bowl, and now I can't back out. It's not too late. I said firmly, grabbed her arm and pulled her back into the living room, where everyone was gathered around the bowl of keys, ready to pick their partner for the night. Sharon tried to resist, but I let her go and walked over to the bowl. I hadn't been told about this part of the party. I announced loudly that I would not share my wife with any of you. I looked around until I found the key to our house, with the red plastic cover, and I took it out, facing the astonished crowd. I wasn't told the rules beforehand. I don't believe in cheating, and the marriage vows mean everything to me. Some people complained and glared at me, but I didn't care. I looked at my wife, she was furious. Sharon, you must make a choice now, come with me and forget this madness, or stay here and never go home. I'm leaving. Everyone's gaze turned to my wife, who was now blushing and embarrassed. She hesitated for a moment, then spoke. Apologizing for her husband's behavior. I would love to stay, but given the circumstances, I think it's better if I go. Reluctantly, she followed me to the car. You're such a selfish bastard. She yelled at me. How could you embarrass me like that in front of everyone? We'll never be invited back. You embarrassed Sharon. Why didn't you tell me about your plan to spend the night with someone else? You were going to be with another wife, and that would have made us both happy. I don't want to be with another woman, Sharon, and I reserve the right not to. After 10 years of marriage, it hurts to hear that you want to be with someone else. Frank, we've spent so many nights together, this is just one night with someone else. I've been a good wife for 10 years, isn't that reasonable? Sharon, it's not reasonable. I can't believe what I'm hearing, but this obviously means a lot to you, doesn't it? Yes, Frank, it does. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I have the chance to be more than just a wife and a mother, to take a chance, to enjoy the admiration of others, to spend a few hours of pleasure with another man. You mean you want to spend the night with someone other than your husband? Well, that's a bit blunt, but it's important, probably the most important part. Yes, I slammed on the brakes, turned the car around in the street and sped back to the Van der Lingens. Sharon screamed when I turned the car around. Frank, what are you doing? If spending the night with another man is really so important to you, Sharon, then go ahead. I pulled up in front of their house, and it looked like all the other cars were still there. It looked like you weren't too late to join in. Get out of the car and spend the night with some random guy. I hope he satisfies you in ways that I can't. Frank, this is just a new adventure. You're perfect for me, but you know I can't go in there alone. We have to each bring a new partner. I already said I don't want to be part of this. Sharon, I've never cheated on you and I won't do it until we're divorced. What does that mean? It means what I said. It's time to make a decision, Sharon. If you're going to do this, go be with your cheating friends. They'll welcome you into their conspiracy, even without her husband. They'll welcome a beautiful woman like you. Sharon reached for the doorknob and hesitated. I knew she was trying to think. Her tone softened. Frank, you know I'll call you wherever I end up. It means a lot to me. It's a long shot, but I'm sure your new boyfriend will give you a ride after your sleepover. You make it sound so bad, Frank. He's not going to be my lover, just sleeping over. I love you, Frank, you're the only man for me. Do you really think it's impossible for you to love me and do what you've planned? Let me get this straight, you just want to find someone new, right? You want to find a new man to get you pregnant. Frank, you're so cruel. You know I'm on the pill, I won't get pregnant. It'll just be a night with someone new, it'll be exciting. Want to know what it's like to be with someone new? It's just different, a whole new experience, everything's fresh. Trust me, it will make our relationship even hotter. Enjoy your time with the new guy, Sharon. I hope you realize what you're doing. It's just one night, Frank. It's not that big a deal, not even for a moment. We have the rest of our lives together. If you insist on doing this, there won't be anything left between us. You're making a big deal out of nothing, Frank. I won't let you ruin my night. I just want to spend some time with someone new, and you can't stop me. I've made up my mind, and you have to accept it. Tomorrow morning, I'll come back and make you forget all this. Tomorrow, you'll be a thing of the past. I won't desire you anymore after you've let another man have what I thought was mine and only mine. Now you're being ridiculous. I belong to you, and you still want me. I promise. Sharon, listen to me. If you go back to that house, it's over between us. Your one-night stand will destroy your marriage and your family. No, Frank, it won't. We're married, and we'll always be together. We're meant to be together. I love you, and I know you love me too. We'll get through this. I promise. I'll make it up to you. You're breaking my heart, Sharon. Don't get so worked up. Take it. Take it as a gift for the adventure I'm about to go on. It's an adventure for you, but it's the end for us. Don't be ridiculous, Frank. I'll change your mind in the morning. You know I can't touch you after you've spent the night with someone else. You will touch me, Frank, and more than that. I promise. God, I never realized how stupid you really are. I got out of the car, and she looked at me in surprise, but then opened the door and started to get out. See you in the morning, Frank. I shook my head sadly and sighed. No, Sharon, you won't. As soon as she pushed the car door closed, I accelerated away, leaving a trail of brake marks half a block away. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw her standing on the curb, dumbfounded and completely shocked. She didn't move as I turned the corner and then disappeared from view. I hoped she would call me right away, admit she was wrong and ask me to go back to her, but she didn't. Oh, she probably thought I'd be upset for a few days, and then she could smooth things over by taking me to bed. She was completely wrong. My father always said that if a woman is considering cheating, she has already crossed the line mentally. If a married woman is seriously considering it, she has already broken her vows. Having betrayed you, it hurts, she ended our marriage, it's time to move on. The real tragedy is our 3 children, Jocelyn, 9, Rebecca and 8, and little Frank, 4. I can't imagine life without them, but I can't let Sharon get away with what she's done. The kids are with my mother for the weekend, which gives me time to think about what to do next. I drive aimlessly around the city, still hoping Sharon will call and tell me to come and get her, but it's clear she's made up her mind. I finally decided on a plan and drove home. Just as I pulled into the driveway, the phone rang. I hoped it was Sharon asking me to pick her up, but the caller ID showed it wasn't her. I answered the phone and there was loud music and laughter in the background. A man said, "Hey Frank, it's Rick Wilson, from that party you left. Your wife gave me your number, she wanted me to talk some sense into you. She's really excited tonight, she wants you to come too, you're a lucky guy, every guy here wants her keys, she keeps saying someone's going to have a night to remember, come back and join us, there are some sexy ladies here who are dying to have some fun with you, go to hell, Rick Wilson, you manipulative bastard, you've got everyone at this party in the palm of your hand, including my cheating wife, I hope you all meet a horrible fate." I hung up the phone, went inside, and in less than 20 minutes had packed 2 suitcases with enough clothes for a week or 2. I grabbed my laptop and shaving kit, and loaded everything into the car. I found our marriage certificate, tore it into pieces, and smashed my wedding ring with a hammer. It took a few blows to flatten it, but after I was done, I placed the pieces on Sharon's pillow, locked the door, and drove off into the night. I wanted to find a motel, but first I went back to the Vanderings. Some cars had left the party, and a few people were chatting outside, ready to spend the night. I didn't see Sharon, so I figured she had either left with her new partner or was with Mr. Vandering. The motel I found was in the next town over and didn't look luxurious, but there was parking at the back. If anyone was looking for my car after making sure it was safe, I bought 6 bottles of Newcastle beer from the convenience store next door and decided to watch some TV. The first 2 beers calmed me down, and as I opened the third, my phone rang. It was Sharon, but I knew she wasn't calling to pick me up, so I let it go to voicemail. "Frank, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Rick Wilson told me what you said to him. I've told you a million times, it was just one night. I just wanted to try something new with someone, and that doesn't make me a bad person. I promise, even though I'm a little upset, I'll make it up to you when I get home tomorrow. Oh, and because you took the house key out of the bowl, they made me a new one. The guy who got the key is called Glenn, and he seems like a really nice guy, with a wife and kids just like us. Since you're in our house, I'll be going home with him. His wife and partner are here too, but they live at the other end of the house, far away, so we won't hear each other if things get heated. You know how loud I get when we're together." She giggles. "Look, I know you're angry, but I promise I won't let him do anything we haven't done before. I told Glenn we should keep it simple, just something routine, maybe." Glenn agreed, especially since it was the first time I'd been with someone else. He said he'd drop me off at home tomorrow, and I'll make sure I clean up before I go, won't give you a second chance. "Sweet dreams, see you in the morning, get ready to have fun, love you, Frank." I feel like throwing up. I never realized what a stupid woman I married. Sharon has always been a bit clumsy, but that's what made her so charming. Now her clumsiness is in plain view, and it's ruining our marriage and maybe her children's too. She can't possibly think I'll forgive her for sleeping with another man and bragging about it to my face. I'm sure everyone at the party was having a good laugh at my expense. I was angry, hurt, embarrassed, and my wife didn't care. I knew I should ignore her message, but I couldn't. I called her back, and she answered after 3 rings. To make a long story short, Sharon, this is probably the last you'll hear from me. You don't realize what you've done, but you will soon enough. Enjoy your time with Glenn, because the consequences will be worse than you can imagine. Sharon, you need to understand that once Glenn touches you, our marriage is over. Do you hear me? I never thought I'd say something like this, but I hate you more than I love you right now. I can't wait to be completely done with you. My lawyer will be in touch next week." I hung up the phone, and within 30 seconds she called back. I let the phone go to voicemail again. "Frank," she sounded like she was going to cry. "Why are you doing this? How could you say those things to me? I'm your wife, can't you let me have this night? Glenn and I are just getting started, and now you want to ruin it. I don't know if I can enjoy spending time with him as much as I used to. We're not getting a divorce right now. I'll come home in the morning and we'll talk. I want to come home now, but I promised Glenn I'd spend the night with him. Please understand, I have to do this. He has my keys and I promised him I'd be there. He really wants to do this now. Well, yes, as I speak to you. I have to go. Glenn is ready, he's ready. I love you, Frank. I will always love you. Please don't say our marriage is over when I do this with him. I can't help it, honey, he's already here. Oh, God, please, yes, please try to understand." And then I heard her say to him, "Oh, yes, Glenn, this is my night, honey, see you in the morning." Again, I couldn't resist. I called her back, and this time it rang several times before it went to voicemail. It was clear that Glenn was with my wife, so I left a message from your last voicemail. I can tell Glenn that you are already with him and that you are enjoying yourself. You can spend the night with him and experience all the new sensations he is giving you. Sharon, you have broken my heart and I will never forgive you. You can keep your promise to Glenn, whom you have just met, but you cannot keep your marriage vows to me. I have loved you and been faithful to you for more than 10 years. I don't even know you anymore. You may never see me again, but you will receive divorce papers next week, and I will sue you for adultery, because Glenn is doing what only I can do. You are officially a liar, and from now on you can cheat with any man you want, but if you care, you have lost me forever, and I will keep my promise. Sharon called me back later. I knew she got very involved during intimacy, that she entered a world where it was just her and her man, and they were completely focused on each other. I wasn't sure if she got my last message, but it didn't matter because the damage was done, our marriage was over. She had disrespected me so much, humiliated me so much, mocked our marriage so much, that there was no way I could take her back. I finished the 6 remaining beers. Sharon was loud, as she was with me, and I'm sure with Glenn, too. The beer took effect and I finally fell asleep, tears still streaming down my face. I woke up about 4 hours later, reality hitting me hard. My wife had a lover, and now I needed to figure out how to protect my child, get her out of my life, and make as much pain as possible for the guy at the party. We lived in a beautiful city on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and Mississippi allows for divorce on the grounds of adultery divorce. I can avoid paying alimony and may even get custody of the children. I need a top-notch lawyer, and fast. At 7:30 I showered and got dressed. I called my mother and told her what had happened. She was as surprised as I was by Sharon's actions. She's babysitting the kids for the weekend and promised not to say anything to them. I told her I'd pick them up once I had a plan. I think Sharon will probably get custody, at least for now. It's hard to admit, but until last night she had been a good mother and a good wife. Last night, after I finished talking to my mother on the phone, I went to a nearby restaurant for breakfast. As I was parking my car and walking towards the entrance, the phone rang. It was Sharon. I hesitated, but decided not to answer it and let it go to voicemail. Instead of leaving a message, she immediately called back repeatedly until she finally left a message, sobbing, "Frank, pick up the phone." "What do you mean? I may never see you again. And what's this about a divorce agreement? You can't leave me, Frank. We have 3 beautiful children who need us both. Why did you tear up our marriage certificate and smash your wedding ring? I gave you that ring on our wedding day, and you promised me you would always wear it, because it symbolizes our eternal love. I knew you would be a little angry with me, but I didn't think you would go this far, Frank. I love you deeply, but I really needed that special evening with Glenn. It meant a lot to me, and he made me feel alive and young again. I've forgotten the excitement of laughing and screaming at the same time, but last night was incredible. You are the only man for me, Frank. I know how to make it up to you, to heal your wounds. Please come home so I can tell you how much I love you and make it all better." She starts to cry and I can't hear what she's saying. "Frank, why? Do you understand? I just needed one night with someone new to feel wanted and desired again. It felt so good to know that another man wanted me, that he found me beautiful and wanted me. Please, Frank, try to understand, it was just a moment, that's all. Please talk to me. I love you. You and our children mean everything to me." Her voice grew weaker. "It's just Frank. Oh God, we just had intimacy, that's all. Frank, we just did it." She continued sobbing until the message ended. I stood outside the dining room, completely shocked. Could it be that Sharon had been hiding these feelings throughout our marriage and they had suddenly erupted now, when she was just under 30 years old? Sharon was still as beautiful as ever, 165 centimeters tall, weighing 54 kilograms, with dark blonde hair down to her shoulders, pale blue eyes, and an excellent figure. Her breasts were neither big nor small, and although her hips might be a little wide after having 3 children, she attracted people's attention wherever she went. So this nonsense about the need for another man's longing, I have always shown her how much I love her and how much I long for her. I surprise her with flowers, take her out on dates, at least once a week I told her every day how beautiful she was and how much I loved her. Until last night, our sex life had been great, at least I thought so. We had sex at least 3 times a week. I always made sure she had 1 or more orgasms. What had I missed? I lost my appetite, but I went into the restaurant anyway, found an empty table, and ordered scrambled eggs, toast and black coffee. I hardly ate any breakfast, but I drank at least 6 cups of coffee. I have never felt so lost, so empty, so desperate. I have heard people say that they wished they were dead, and now I finally know what they mean. The only thing that keeps me going is the thought of my children. I must live for them, and I must get out of this nightmare Sharon has created. The thought of a future for them fills me with determination. I will persevere. I just need to figure out what to do. Sharon called me about 20 times that day, but I always let it go to voicemail. She pleaded with me to understand, but she never apologized for her actions. She never admitted to making a mistake, but insisted that she needed that night, and that it was my responsibility to support her. They only had sex 3 times that night, and once in the morning, and she mentioned that she was worried that I might have overheard their conversation because she hadn't switched her phone off in time. She hoped that I hadn't heard too much while Glenn was at work. She really knows how to hurt me deeply. I can't believe she was so stupid. On the plus side, however, I now have evidence from solid audio of her infidelity that I can use against her in court. I'm not sure if the recordings are enough, but they are very convincing and leave no room for doubt. I intend to find a good lawyer the next day and gather all the necessary information. I visited the children at my mother's house, and she told me that Sharon had called to ask about the children and to ask where I was. My mother explained that I was upset about what had happened and didn't want to see her talk to Sharon. Apparently Sharon started crying and said I couldn't understand. My mother told her that no man could understand a wife who flaunted her affair in front of her husband. Sharon asks if she should go get the kids, but my mom suggests that they'd be better off staying for a few more days until things calm down. The kids are happy to see me, but want to know where their mom is. I tell them that their mom is busy with something important to her and that they'll be spending some more time with their grandmother. We play games and have dinner together, then I hug and kiss them goodbye and head back to my motel for the night. It's going to be a busy day before I can call it a day. I still have one more thing to do, more like a quick drive-by. When I see my house, tears well up again. I cry for what I've lost, knowing it's gone forever. I'm surprised to see no unfamiliar cars in the driveway, though there may be one in the garage. I only see the kitchen light on downstairs, making me think Sharon is alone at least for tonight. Then I realize I still have feelings for her. No, I won't take her back after what she's done, but imagining her betraying me with another man makes me deeply painful. I tried to resist the urge to spy on her, but I gave in and stopped a block away. I walked back and peeked through the kitchen window. She was sitting at the dining table with an empty bottle of Grey Goose vodka next to her. Imagining her betraying me with another man, I tried to resist the urge to spy on her, but I gave in when I stopped a block away. I walked back and peeked through the kitchen window. She was sitting at the dining room table, an empty bottle of Grey Goose vodka next to her. Her hair was messy, her face showed traces of mascara, and she was wearing a robe. She had her head resting on the table, her eyes closed. It was obvious that she had just cried, and there was a pile of tissue paper around her. I felt sorry for her, but then I wanted to blast her. But in the end, I went back to my car and drove away. I felt a little relieved. Maybe she was beginning to realize the seriousness of her actions. If she wanted sympathy, she could call her lover Glenn. On Monday, I arrived early at the restaurant because I had a full schedule. I had eggs on toast and coffee, and this time I finished everything. Afterwards, I called my mother and spoke to each of my children, reassuring them of my love and promising to see them soon. Then I contacted work and informed my administrative assistant that I would be taking care of some personal matters over the next few days. I told her that if there was anything urgent, she could call or text me, and she sensed something was wrong, but I didn't elaborate and promised to explain later. During my last year at the University of Mississippi, I shared an apartment with 2 close friends, Douglas Platt III and Maxwell McCrae. We formed strong bonds and, although we didn't see each other often, we stayed in touch over the years. Over the years, I majored in computer science, Doug in business administration, and Max in law. I called Doug first and asked if the 2 of them could meet for a drink around 5. I needed their help with a serious problem, and Doug agreed to contact Max. We agreed to meet at the Lava Bar by the beach. I arrived early, and Max arrived just after 5, followed 10 minutes later by Doug. We exchanged warm greetings, found a table on the terrace, ordered drinks and raised our glasses in celebration. What happened? Frank, Doug asked. Your phone call sounded serious. Sharon cheated on me and let me know about it. I poured out my heart and told them the whole story. That's awful, Doug exclaimed. I can't even begin to understand her doing such a thing. Max interjected. She did it without a shred of shame or remorse. She still thinks I'm overreacting. Can you believe it? So what's your plan? Max asked. I want a divorce. I want to teach Glenn, whoever he is, and the other assholes at the party a lesson, but most of all, I want custody of the kids. Custody may not be that simple, Frank. Max warns, unless she's been a negligent mother. If she's brought men home casually in the children's presence, had affairs, then you might have a chance. Otherwise, if she's been a good mother, she'll probably get custody and you'll have to pay child support. As long as I can still spend time with them whenever I want, I replied that this would work. Max nodded. The court usually wants both parents to be involved in raising the children. If they are both competent parents, what about the financial aspect? Doug asked. Sharon stays at home with the children, and you probably have a six-figure salary. What do you have in your account? Checking, savings, investments, a $41,000 retirement fund. I have them all. Together, they are worth about $700,000 or $800,000, maybe more. The court may split it evenly and award Sharon the house and custody, but if you can prove that she is cheating, it seems that you have a good reason, and you may not have to pay alimony. Max explained. Do you happen to know a very good divorce lawyer? In fact, one of the partners at my firm the house and custody to Sharon, but if you can prove she cheated, which seems like you have a pretty good case, you may not have to pay alimony. Max explains, do you happen to know a really good divorce lawyer? As a matter of fact, one of the partners at my firm is one of the top family law attorneys in Mississippi. Her name is Maddie Simmons. Shall I set up a meeting for you? Sure, the sooner the better. In the meantime, Doug suggested I look into how to protect some of your finances, so send me all your financial details and I'll get on to it. We raised our glasses again, had a few more drinks and said goodnight. Suddenly, I felt better than I had since the ordeal began. As I drove back to the hotel, all the tasks ahead of me filled my mind. My phone rang. It was Sharon. I hesitate for a moment, then answer the phone. What's up, Sharon? I come straight to the point. What do you think I want, Frank? I want my husband back where he belongs. I can hear the tears in her voice. Unfortunately, your affair with Glenn has made it impossible for me to go home again. I answer firmly. She suddenly bursts into tears. Frank, don't say that, you mustn't say that. 10 years is only one night away from you. Isn't that enough? Divorce. Think again. In the state of Mississippi, adultery is absolutely grounds for divorce in Mississippi. Why do you keep saying it's adultery? It was just one night with someone new, it was a momentary impulse. When a married woman sleeps with someone new, whether it's for one night or 1 second, it's adultery. I warned you. When Glenn was with you, I meant it. Oh, God, Frank, you can't do this to me. You brought this on yourself. Sharon, what's wrong with you? Are you on medication? Are you having a nervous breakdown, or are you just incredibly stupid? Incredibly stupid? You seem hell-bent on being with another man, and you couldn't care less about our children or what I want. You did it, and now you have to face the consequences. I thought we were really happy, with a wonderful home, 3 great kids, and a comfortable bed. But you've ruined it all, sleeping with a stranger and then throwing it in my face. We were happy, Frank, happy. I wanted to see what it felt like to spend a night with another man, just to experience something new and not get hurt, that's all. You don't realize the extent of the damage you've done overnight. Your selfishness has completely destroyed our family and torn our lives apart irreparably. First of all, Sharon, you broke my heart and blatantly ignored my feelings. Remember that I, your husband, have loved you unconditionally since the day we met, working tirelessly every day just to provide you and the children with the life you want. You betrayed me, with a stranger, ignoring the vows we took 10 years ago. You promised me in front of our family, friends, and God that your body belongs to me. Yet last night, you made it clear that you will do whatever you want, no matter how much I beg. You told me to go to hell and insisted on doing whatever you wanted, no matter how I felt. I never thought things would turn out like this, Frank. I don't know why, but I didn't realize I was hurting you. I just wanted to try something new. I love you. This isn't about you. This is something I need. And that's where you're wrong. You completely ignored your husband. Your night with Glenn was all about you and him, without any consideration for me or our children. I feel like I deserve a special night for myself. Well, congratulations, Your Majesty, you got your special night, but at the cost of our marriage and possibly damaging your reputation among family and friends. Maybe one day I will forgive you, but I will never forget, and I will make sure everyone knows what you have done. You called me a big baby because I was upset about your adultery. Let's see how you handle it when everyone hears you admit to letting Glenn have you 4 times, when the two of you only pleasured each other twice. Oh no, Frank, please, you can't, my parents will fall apart. I'm sorry, Sharon, you should have thought about this before you acted. You made your bed, now you have to lie in it. You seem to think what you did is no big deal, like getting a traffic ticket or forgetting. To that my parents would be devastated. Sorry Sharon, you should have thought about that before you acted. You made your bed, now you have to lie in it. You seem to think what you did is no big deal, like getting a traffic ticket or forgetting to return a library book. You threw away a solid 10-year marriage with someone who truly cared for you all. For a one-night stand with a stranger, was it worth losing your family over? I didn't think I'd lose everything, Frank. I thought you would love me, understand me, and support me. No reasonable person would support their spouse cheating on them just because they want a night of novelty. That's not what happened, and you should know better than that. Sharon, what made you do it? I thought you wouldn't care that much. Seriously, Frank, what's the big deal if I sleep with another guy a few times? It doesn't change anything, it's still yours and waiting for you to take it back. What I did with Glenn last night doesn't mean I love you more. I've heard of swapping partners, and it made me understand why couples can't spend a night with a complete stranger, but with someone safe. I wanted to try something new, just this once, and then promise you again, but this shows a lack of respect for me. I begged you not to, but you did it anyway. You excluded me from what we have together. These vows meant everything to me. The bond between us has brought us 3 beautiful children who love us both. We are a family that is only faithful to each other, but now you have shared the part of you that gave birth to these children with someone else, for the thrill of a one-night stand. You call it an incident. I should move on, but for me it is a complete betrayal of our family, of our commitment. And the respect you once had for me, you want someone else. You got it, but Sharon, by doing this you've thrown away everything we hold dear. I still care, but I can't be with you anymore. Why are you being so stubborn? Frank, can't you see that this is just what I need? Nothing has changed between us. Everything has changed. Sharon, you don't belong to me anymore. I'm begging you not to do this. I can't just forgive you and forget that you betrayed me. It's an unhealable wound. I'm going to a lawyer tomorrow and file for divorce on grounds of adultery. I'll name you and all the other people involved. Imagine how your friends will crumble when they find out you've ruined their social circle. Get out, Sharon, get out with your affair. When I walked into Marty Simmons Esquire's office, I felt like I had finally found the right lawyer to guide me through this difficult time. My life had become a mess. She was direct. Nonsense. She went straight to the point, wanting to know why I wanted a divorce and what I hoped to gain from it. I explained that I wanted to split my assets with Sharon, probably trading our house for less cash. I also admitted that despite suing for adultery, it was unlikely that I would win full custody of the children, but I insisted on unrestricted access to the children and avoided paying alimony. I played audio evidence of Sharon's betrayal, in which she admitted to having had sex with Glenn on numerous occasions. Miss Simmons shook her head in disbelief, finding it hard to believe that my wife could be so careless as to admit to her extramarital affairs in voice mails that could be used against her in court. She explained that unless they encountered an unreasonable judge, the recordings should be admissible as evidence. We spent the rest of the time discussing my goals for Glenn and the other people who attended the swingers party. She doubted that we could win any money from them, but she could find a way to embarrass them by publicly exposing their activities and thereby harm them. I told her that would be enough for me. I paid her the deposit and asked her to serve Sharon immediately. She assured me it wouldn't take long and promised to let me know by Tuesday. On Tuesday afternoon, I picked up my children from my mother and took them back to Sharon's. When she greeted them, she gave them warm hugs and kisses, then held out her hand to me, but I backed away, which made her tear up and plead with me to stay. I explained that I couldn't, but that I thought it would be best for the kids to stay with her and that I intended to pick them up on Friday to take them home for the weekend. Sharon seemed to be struggling, and I sympathized, but she had only herself to blame. Her difficult time was no worse than the one I had been through, and because of her, I returned to work on Wednesday. I knew I couldn't neglect my work. I needed it more than ever, not only for the income, but also as a distraction. If I indulged too much in the pain and self-pity caused by Sharon's betrayal, I feared I would lose my mind, and that was something I couldn't allow, not for the sake of my children. Not just for the income, but also for the distraction. If I wallow in the pain and self-pity caused by Sharon's betrayal, I fear I will lose my mind, and I cannot afford to lose my mind for the sake of my children. On Thursday, I saw Doug and Max again, this time for dinner at Half Shell Oyster House, where I enjoyed their grilled oysters and dirty martinis. During the meal, I updated them on my children and the divorce proceedings. Litigation. Doug had already researched ways to protect some of my assets, and I authorized him to proceed. It was a small amount, but it would help in the long run. Together, we brainstormed a simple plan to cause trouble at the swingers club without fear of legal repercussions. Max had a friend who worked as a reporter for the Bayou Herald. He thought that if I gave him the address of Van Driel and the times of the swingers club meetings, he could find out the names of some of the participants. He suggested writing an editorial exposing the fact that wife swapping was more common in Bayou Beauregard than people thought, suggesting that certain business owners were involved, without naming them explicitly, and taking pictures of the couples going to and from the meetings. We could create enough controversy to cause trouble for the wife swapping organization. I shared the limited information with Max, and he agreed to start the investigation as planned. We said goodbye and agreed to meet again soon. I had a great weekend with the kids. We bought new clothes, went to the Grand 18 in D'Iberville to watch a movie, and spent the whole day at the beach, swimming and playing frisbee. My children are my main concern, and I promised myself that I would always be there for them. On Monday morning, Max called and said he was a friend of Sun Daily, liked the idea of the story, and was trying to figure out a way to get some photos of the couple going in and out of the Vanderling house. Even if their faces were blurred out, people would soon find out. If all went well, this could become headline news. I prayed, and Sharon kept calling and begging me to come home, promising that she would do whatever it took to make things right. But she never apologized or admitted to any wrongdoing. On Wednesday, my lawyer informed me that Sharon would be at my house on Friday morning. Then Doug told me that he had found a way to deposit about a third of my money in the bank in the name of my children. Finally, Max called and said that his friend had found out that the wavering couple would be at Vanderland again on Friday night, and he planned to secretly photograph everyone in the unmarked van parked across the street. He also wanted to interview me again about the party, and if all went well, the article would be published in the next weekly. Friday arrived, and I waited for Sharon to call after she got the divorce papers. As expected, the call came at 2:30. My lawyer told me that she had just received the papers. The phone rang. I saw the caller ID and knew it was Sharon. I smiled to myself, not sure what she wanted initially. I considered letting it go to voicemail, but I changed my mind. "Hey, Sharon, what's up?" I answered, "What the hell did you do?" "Frank," her tone was far from friendly. "I filed for divorce, just like I said I would." I answered, "I told you there would be no divorce, and you filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery. Spending a night with another man is not adultery." "Frank, I disagree with you, Sharon. Under Mississippi law, having intimate relations with someone other than your spouse is adultery, and Glenn certainly had relations with you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why are you being so cruel?" "Frank, I love you. Glenn and I only had relations a few times, on impulse." "Oh, it's my fault, Sharon. I must have misunderstood. Having intimate relations outside of marriage is not adultery. How could I be wrong?" "Sharon, it's over. I warned you countless times, begged you not to do it, but you did it anyway, and now you have to face the consequences. Soon you'll realize that your troubles are not over. Goodbye, Sharon, and I hope you have a miserable life." The hardest part is that I still have feelings for Sharon, maybe I always will, but I can't trust her anymore. I can't continue to be married to someone who cheated on me. I know I shouldn't go, but I can't help driving over to take a look. I want to see if Sharon's car is there, even though I doubt she'll be at the party this time. Her car isn't there, but she may have gone with someone else. They usually only allow couples to attend, but once they made an exception for her, who's to say they won't do it again? I saw a van parked across the street, probably the press. He exposed them. The results of their luck came quickly. The next afternoon, Max's journalist friend called to ask for some inside information, which I was happy to provide. He mentioned that he had taken over 100 photos and recognized a dozen of the city's famous couples. Strangely, they were not the same couple who left the residence 2 hours later. Max gave him a picture of my wife, and he confirmed that she was not among the couples entering and leaving the Vanderling home. He wanted me to describe what I had seen and experienced at home during one of the big parties. I tried to explain how the keys had ended up in the bowl, even though I had never actually seen the man pick the key and leave with the woman it belonged to. I got the general picture from my wife's description and from overhearing other couples talking about past parties. Before ending the call, he asked if he could imply that he knew of one marriage that had ended because of the party, leaving the children to deal with their parents' divorce. I said he could, as long as no names were mentioned. The article appeared in the Sunday paper, causing a furor and making the front page, with a photo of the couple entering and leaving, but with their faces blurred. The story continued over 4 pages with many other photos, and despite the efforts to hide the faces, the participants were easily identified from their car and clothes, as they were well-known members of the Bayou Association. By Monday, the story was the talk of the town, and several ministers gave interviews discussing the moral decay. Civic leaders condemned the situation, lawsuits were filed, but they were dropped, some businesses lost customers, and many couples ended up in divorce court. For me, it was all very entertaining. It was the price I had to pay for the pain I had endured losing my wife and family. Even though people knew I had been cheated on, I didn't care. I got my revenge, and that's what mattered. Sharon tried to win me back for months, but I was determined. The divorce was final, and I was granted joint custody of the children. We took turns caring for them, with me having them 1 month and Sharon the next. It wasn't ideal, but we managed. Sharon didn't contest the divorce, so I decided not to release the recordings of her confessing the affair to family and friends. As for the couples involved in the scandal, some ended up divorcing and leaving the city, perhaps because of the scandal's impact. Sharon has started dating again, although I don't know if she fully understands why her actions hurt me so much. I've dated a few wonderful women, but haven't found the right person to marry yet. Some people have suggested that we live together, but I'm still afraid to easily give a woman the key to my home.